guys, welcome to this series on classical gas that I want to do. I've put this one off for some time trying to decide exactly how I want to do it. I don't want to run through the entire thing. I'm going to take it in sections. Today we'll do the introduction and perhaps the first line of the first theme. One of the best ways to master a song and get it down as fast as possible is as soon as you start working on it, start to really focus in on one bar and one idea at a time. The only problem I find with that idea is if you haven't played through the whole thing multiple times, you won't actually see repetitive themes that show up. You might be unaware of certain things like where an A minor goes to a G and then a G over F sharp and how that's going to repeat over and over again, and that one way to master large swaths of the song is to see where those themes repeat and where you should be working on certain ideas. That's where having a teacher, somebody who's familiar with the piece, is of a real benefit. Classical teachers, for instance, will teach a student one or two songs throughout the entire year for their festival because they're actually expert at that song and know all of the things you need to work on to get prepared for it. Or a high school teacher teaching To Kill a Mockingbird over and over and over again. They see a lot of the foreshadowing and a lot of the different ideas that will connect the chapters together. These are things they can point out early and you can be alert and watching for. We'll do the same thing with classical gas here. We're in A minor, so you can expect A minors and C's, of course, the relative major. If you have A minors and C's, you probably have G's. Very often with G's, you'll have G over F sharp as you go to E minors. These are all things you've probably picked up over the years. Not if you're a true beginner. If you are, get back to the beginner course and just get yourself started working lesson by lesson through there. But if you have been playing for some time, you'll know that A minors and C's go together. A minor to G over B to C, or backwards, C to G over B to A minor go together. G to G over F sharp to E minor go together. In A minor, you'll also have E majors. Each of those things I just talked about, if you're not familiar with, get practiced on those right away. We can spot them in here and just sort of stop and withdraw the information and work on it as you see it here, rather than necessarily memorizing the entirety of the tab. Rather than just knowing a song by its tab, try to understand what's happening musically, what the chord progressions are doing, and where very familiar cliches that you've learned will show up. So let's get started. We have an A minor chord. Again, if you saw just a tab, you might say, well, it's a 1 and a 2. And that's sufficient. It actually might be. There might be times where that's all you want to do. I'm going to think of an entire A minor though. So this is in 3/4. I didn't write that, but you'll understand that as we go. So we have pinch the C and A of an A minor chord. I'll use my middle finger and my thumb, my P, pulgar and medio at the same time. Index plays the third string with this 2 on it. Pluck the 1 again. 1, 2, 3, and then a G chord. Although I say play a lot of the G chord, I'm not going to bother putting a high note on here. All I need is the G note on the 6th string and the 2 open strings. There's a slight arpeggio of those. Instead of plucking them simultaneously, you'll play the fingers in just a quick sequence. So here we have those again. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. You'll hold that for 2 beats. 1, 2, 3, and on beat 3 you hit the F sharp note, so it's now a G over F sharp, then an open E, which anticipates the E minor from the and of 3. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, and 1, 2, 3. So this open E rings, these 2 open strings are part of an E minor chord. So you get and 1, play the A on beat 2, and open G on 3, completing the E minor with a little sus in the middle of it. And 1, 2, 3, A minor. Again, I don't need the entire A minor at the moment, just the 2s, but I'm going to play the entire chord. Here we go one more time. 1, 2, 3, G, 2, 3, and 1, 2, 3, A minor for 3 beats. While you have the A minor, pull the C off this string, the 2nd string, and hammer it back on. So 1 and, hit Hit the third string for 2. This bar is 1 and 2 and 3. 1 and 2 and 3, G again. So here's a pattern to learn already. A minor to G to E minor. We're doing it again. A minor to G to E minor. They're very similar ideas. In fact, so similar that when I play by memory, sometimes I accidentally do a hammer-on on this one because I've memorized that one. I like it though. Here's the G, the first one. 3 and E, 2, 3, A minor. Hold for 3 beats. Hammer on the A minor. G. Same move here. Very similar E, but now we have a triplet. This triplet covers 2 beats. 1 and A, 2 and A. This is on 3, this is on 4. So this is an insertion of a 4-beat bar surrounded by 3s. We're back to 3/4 here. 1 and A, 2 and A, 3 and A, 4 and A. So here's the triplet sound again. I'll hit this E to get started. This A minor, hold for 3 beats. Once again, let me start again. A minor, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, and E minor. A minor for a full bar of 3. 1 and 2 and 3, G, 2, 3, and 1, and now this A minor for 3. These are triplet eighth notes. We played triplets back here, which are based on triplet eighths. Now we're playing triplet eighths. 1 and A, 2 and A, 3 and A. So that's a G chord, G with the open strings. 2 of the notes of the A minor. In this case, I do actually just play the 2 and the 1 that we need. It keeps my fingers free to get into this G over B, which you know really well. Triplet, triplet, triplet. And you know that A minor to G over B leads you to C's. If you don't know that, learn it now. That's just a very popular guitar movement. G, A minor, G over B, C. So here we're in 4/4 again. C, 1, 2, and A minor. Sometimes here I play more A minor than is written here. I'll play more of the notes of it. 1, 2, and 3, 4. This is an E chord. 1, 2, 3, 4. With a fermata on this B, so we're just going to hold it out. In fact, all of this has been rubato. It's free time. You play it how you feel. Here might be how I feel it. And that's our intro. We want to know that that goes into the A minor of the first melodic passage. We've been on an open B, so we're going to hammer on the C note of the A minor chord when we get there. So we're in 4/4 still. So we get 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. This is 1 bar, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. I've pointed to this open B for the G chord. That open B is anticipating G. Don't sit in your A minor admiring this open B. Use that to get yourself to the G. And here again we see G to G over F sharp to E minor, as we saw in the beginning. So recognize that pattern. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. This theme again. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and G, F sharp, E. This little bit is still E minor. I'm not placing a chord though. I'm just playing the notes as written. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Once this A is in place, the sus4 on an E minor, leave it there for the end of the bar. We're playing second and third strings on this part of the A minor. So this is middle, index, middle, index. I pinch this, thumb and index, middle, thumb. That could be an index down there, but I like my thumb on it. Open, and then the G. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Give this 2 here, this A note, an accent. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. When you're playing quicker, you'll hear that one want to pop out. This is ending 1. I'm going to stop here for sure. We'll have 4 endings that are all very similar. This one we might as well learn first. It's an A minor chord. We do this really quick hammer on, open to 2, open to E on the 4th string, the little thing I call a flam. 1 and 2 and 3, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Mason Williams seems to be moving his whole hand. Sometimes he'll hit that as a hammer, sometimes this one. So let me play this section one more time. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and repeat. So practice that. Later on we'll have a slightly different ending here. So here's our intro, which is our main focus today, but also that little first movement. 1, 2, 3. Alright, try those 2 parts out. Take your time, this could be several weeks worth of work, and we'll add the next little bit soon. Thanks a lot, guys. Catch up and talk to you later. Bye for now.